Hey there guys, Matt Guzman here, back with another video, and today is going to be about how to get the Indian Lore Merit Badge. So, the first requirement of the Merit Badge says to identify the different American Indian cultural areas and to explain what makes them each unique. But before I go into the Merit Badge, I'm going to discuss a little bit about Indian background in the North America and South America. So, for the Indian tribes, not all are the same. Obviously, the tribes are going to be different. But also, if you notice, this is also a map of Christopher Columbus's voyages, and they're not all the same either. He took different voyages to find out different things, but the main thing he's famous for is finding the New World and the West Indies. So when European explorers came to the New World, North and South America was estimated to already have 50 million inhabitants in it. So they didn't really find the world, they just kind of recognized that it existed for their country. So I just thought that was kind of interesting that there were still like that many people already there. Also, on the northwest coast, over 130,000 American Indians lived in hundreds of communities already. So some more iconic ones are the Choctaw, Cherokee, Seminole, and Apache, and many more too, but they were already living there as well in hundreds of communities. American Indians have lived in Florida for over 13,000 years. Some of them are the Apalachee, the Gual, and the ones that my troop focused on were the A's tribe, and because that was more closely in our area, and also because they were also all dead, so my counselor thought that was kind of interesting to learn about them. Also because the way they were documented is actually pretty interesting as well. But more on the cultural side, most tribes live near the water, and in the last 1,000 years, some tribes developed agriculture. So that's just a little tidbit about their culture. In the 1500s, the populations were devastated by disease, warfare, and slavery. So that's how most of the American Indians died, were because of those. And by the 1700s, the Creek Indians moved in and are today known as the Seminoles. So people usually think of the Seminoles as like the original Indians or something like that, but they're really not. They've only been living here for about 300 years, but it's still kind of cool to see that they're around. Number 2 says to give the history of one American Indian tribe, group, or nation that lives or has lived near you. As I said before, my troop was doing the A's tribe. Visited if possible. We kind of can't because they're all dead. But so a little bit of background information on the A's. It translates to the people, and they lived in coastal areas and islands from Cape Canaveral to the Indian River. The Spanish called the Indian River the River of A's because of the inhabitants there. And the best source for the A's information is Jonathan Dickinson's journal, which in 1696, he actually shipwrecked with them and spent several weeks with the A's, and he documented a lot of their lifestyles too. So that's how most of the information comes from them. 2 says is a continuation, which is to choose American Indian tribe, and you're supposed to tell about their traditional dwellings, their way of life, the tribal government, religious beliefs, language, clothing styles, leadership, family and clan relationships, arts and crafts, and there's more, food preparation, transportation, games, war customs, where current members live, and how they live. And don't worry, I'm not going to cover all of these. That would just be a lot and too much work and time. So I'm just going to cover a little bit of the facts that I thought were interesting about the Ace tribe. So, for family and clan relationships, they were friends with the Mayaka from the upper St. Johns River, and they actually spoke a similar language and were able to understand each other. For arts and crafts, the A's wore a broad gold headband, and the leading man wore smaller ones. For food preparation, they gathered and dried palmetto leaves, and cocoa plum and sea grape berries, and they boiled fish and shellfish and hunted deer and hogs. For transportation, just the typical dugout canoes. And warfare customs. As I said before, they all died. The A's did not survive long after Dickinson's sojourn with them. Settlers in Carolina and their Indian allies started raiding the A's, along with slavery and diseases and natural causes. They were just completely wiped out. Moving on to number 3, it says to do 2 of the following, and focus on a specific group or tribe while you're doing it. A says to make clothing worn by the tribe. B, make and decorate 3 items used by the tribe. And C, make authentic model of dwellings used by any Indian tribe, group, or nation, which is the one I did. And there's also a fourth option, which I also did this one as well, which says to visit a museum to see Indian artifacts and identify at least 10 artifacts by the tribe or nation and their shape, size, and use, and discuss the artifacts with your counselor. So, if you guys haven't seen my May status update where I talked about this requirement a little bit, basically, we were supposed to go to this place called Fort King, which was based off an Indian tribe. Not directly the A's, but still Indian related. So, we were supposed to go there, but it was like 3 weeks in advance, and we didn't want to waste any time. So, what my counselor did, he brought the museum to us. So, here's how we did it. One of the requirements said to visit a museum, but instead of doing that, he brought the museum to us because he had a lot of artifacts like dream catchers, flutes. He also had like a bunch of arrowheads. When he was presenting and teaching it to us, he was enthusiastic, so it wasn't boring. It was pretty fun. And one of the requirements says to make your own model of like one of the houses they'd make or something. So it was really fun to do. And then he had a PowerPoint for us when we were following along and listening to what he was saying. And afterwards, we discussed the different artifacts with him. Alright, that was it for number 3. Number 4 says to do one of the following. A. Learn 3 games played by a tribe, and teach and lead 1 game with a scout group. B. Learn and show how a tribe traditionally cooked or prepared food, and make 3 food items. And I did A, but in case you don't like A or B, there's actually a third option, which is C. Give a demonstration showing how a specific Indian group traditionally hunted, fished, or trapped. Once again, I did A. So, moving on to number 5, do one of the following. There's actually a lot. It goes all the way from A to I. So I'm not going to cover all of those, so I'm just going to say the one that I did, which was H. Name 5 well-known American Indian leaders, either from the past or the present. If you do want to know the rest of them, I'm going to put the requirements in the description, and you can scroll down to number 5, and I'll have them all from A to I so you can see for yourself. But for H, you're supposed to give the tribes or the nations, as in like the names, and describe what they did or that they're doing now that makes them notable. So the 5 well-known American Indian leaders that my troop chose were Sitting Bull, Geronimo, Chief Joseph, Chief Crazy Horse, and Jim Thorpe. Now, I'm not going to give away the answer, but I'm just going to say those are the guys that we chose. So, yep. Thank you for watching my video on how to get the Indian Lore Merit Badge. And this video is not over yet. As I mentioned before, we actually did go to Fort King eventually, so that's why I'm making this video a little bit late. I wanted to go to Fort King first, and then I wanted to show footage from that. So, thank you for watching my video. Enjoy the footage, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Had a guy when we were going to rebuild was going to donate it to it and put it down so you can't put it anymore. Here you'll see these little notches all along the wall that the fire was coming out of the watch tower was on the end, but the soldiers would stick their gun out through these. They could change the angle on the inside, plus the Indian could grab the gun on the outside and pull it through the hole with it. So it seemed to work out pretty well for that. I'm sure you all have over there where you are on the Fort Christmas before after. That's a beautiful fort over there. I just never been there. Really? Oh my gosh, it's fantastic. How'd your cars do in the love boats going over? I was so got the camp sunny and hot that I just that comes in here sometime on Saturday night. They use the big one. They put targets up and actually throw at them. Everybody thrown a tomahawk before, most of you guys?
Yeah.
Pretty much know what you're doing then and stuff. So anyway, it's just kind of a little something really good. But we'll get them here and we'll set up and do a little chucking.
There you go.
Hey.
All right. Nice.
Oh yeah. See, he's got the feel for it. Once you get it, nothing to it.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's your popcorn share.
That's it right there.
Start naming off
Very
pretty
good
good
touch.
Now it doesn't look like he's actually trying, just kind of.
You don't really have to try if you.
No, once you, it's just
the feel.
Yeah.
Oh.
you almost overthink it.
Yeah. Lob it up there.
Now, if we're trying to put rotation on it, the weight takes care of that.
Nice.
Get his picture, somebody. Hey. So, no gators at least, as far as I know, so that's always a good thing. But I don't.